Hello everyone, welcome to History and Culture. Here, we're going to talk about the Northern Expedition in China in 1926. A significant chapter that changed the course of Chinese history. This war not only brought Chiang Kai-shek and his National Revolutionary Army, NRA, into the spotlight, but also marked a critical step toward China's unification and independence. On July 9, 1926, Chiang Kai-shek officially assumed the position of Commander-in-Chief of the National Revolutionary Army, and set out from Guangzhou with an army of 100,000 troops, launching the Northern Expedition. The objective of this campaign was very clear: to overthrow the regional warlords and realize a unified and independent China. At that time, China was plagued by warlord infighting, and the situation was extremely complex. The main northern military cliques combined had nearly 1 million troops, whereas Chiang Kai-shek's NRA had only about 100,000 soldiers. Many people believed that with 100,000 against 1 million, Chiang's forces stood no chance, and didn't expect them to stir up much at all. But what happened? Chiang Kai-shek and his NRA miraculously pulled off the unthinkable. They gradually defeated their powerful enemies and accomplished the heroic feat of the Northern Expedition. How exactly did they manage this? Let's analyze it step by step and uncover the secrets behind the NRA's success. First of all, the northern warlords were far from a united front. They were riddled with internal conflicts and frequently fought among themselves. The main northern warlords included Zhang Zuolin, Wu Peifu, Sun Xuanfang, and Zhang Zongchang. Zhang Zuolin was the most powerful among them, commanding nearly 400,000 troops and controlling the northeast, Tianjin, and Shandong regions. Wu Peifu and Sun Xuanfang each had over 200,000 troops, controlling areas such as Hubei, Hunan, and the Jiangsu-Zhejiang region. Zhang Zongchang also had about 100,000 troops and couldn't be underestimated. On the surface, the combined strength of these warlords vastly outnumbered the NRA. But they had a fatal weakness: a lack of trust, fighting their own battles, and often engaging in internal strife for personal gain. For example, Zhang Zuolin wanted to use the NRA's momentum to weaken Wu Peifu's power, because Wu's territory was near the Central Plains and posed a threat to him. Sun Xuanfang, on the other hand, chose to remain neutral for the time being, content to sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight, waiting to see how the situation would unfold. As luck would have it, Wu Peifu's main forces were at the time engaged in battles with Feng Yuxiang in the northwest, leaving his defenses along the Yangtze River very thin. Chiang Kai-shek astutely seized this opportunity and adopted a very clever strategy: to focus his forces on attacking Wu Peifu while keeping Sun Xuanfang at bay, thus avoiding a two-front war. In August 1926, the NRA set out from Guangzhou and headed northward, with the goal of first capturing Wu Peifu's strongholds in Hubei and Hunan. After a few months of fighting, the NRA won a series of major victories in Hunan and Hubei, capturing key cities like Changsha and Wuhan. During this period, they advanced smoothly, mainly because Wu Peifu's forces were scattered. His defenses along the Yangtze River were weak, and the morale of the NRA was high, with efficient combat operations. In just 3 months, the NRA gained control of the entire Hunan province and most of Hubei, laying a solid foundation for the next phase of the Northern Expedition. Seeing Wu Peifu's territory falling, Sun Xuanfang could no longer sit still. He realized the growing threat of the NRA and began moving troops into Jiangxi, in an attempt to stop their advance. Chiang Kai-shek saw this as a golden opportunity. Having already secured Hunan and Hubei, the NRA's rear was now stable, so he decided to launch a direct offensive against Sun Xuanfang's base in the Jiangsu-Zhejiang region. From August 1926 to March 1927, The NRA spent over half a year gaining control of the vast middle and lower reaches of the Yangtze River, including key economic and political centers such as Nanjing and Shanghai. By this time, most of southern China had already fallen into the hands of the NRA, and the first phase of the northern expedition could be considered a great success. This not only significantly boosted Chiang Kai-shek's prestige, but also greatly enhanced the NRA's morale and access to resources. Next, Chiang Kai-shek turned his attention to the northern warlord Zhang Zuolin. Though Zhang Zuolin was powerful, he also had his own troubles. His ally Zhang Zongchang, although commanding a certain number of troops, had forces that were generally weak in combat capability and lacked strong organization and discipline. Zhang Zuolin himself also faced internal pressures, such as how to govern the northeastern territories, while simultaneously dealing with external challenges. More importantly, Chiang Kai-shek's forces continued to grow during the northern expedition, attracting more and more supporters. By 1927, the National Revolutionary Army, NRA, had increased in size from its initial 100,000 troops to nearly 400,000. Becoming strong enough to rival Zhang Zuolin. Not only that, the NRA's equipment and logistics also kept improving, giving them greater confidence and sustainability on the battlefield. Even more crucial was the arrival of two major allies, Feng Yuxiang and Yan Xishan. Feng Yuxiang controlled the northwest region but had long been isolated by other warlords, leaving him in a difficult position. After Chiang Kai-shek defeated Wu Peifu and Sun Chuanfang, Feng saw an opportunity. He believed that by joining forces with Chiang, not only could they defeat Zhang Zuolin, but he could also gain control over central China and expand his own influence. Yan Xishan of Shaanxi had similar ambitions. Seeing the rising momentum of the NRA, he felt it was a wise move to align with Chiang's camp. With the addition of Feng Yuxiang and Yan Xishan, the total strength of the NRA surpassed 1 million troops, placing Zhang Zuolin in a very precarious situation. 1 million versus 400,000, the disparity in manpower had become stark. Zhang Zuolin's Fengtian forces had almost no ability to mount an effective counterattack. In 1928, the NRA launched a full-scale offensive and quickly took control of Shandong province, effectively surrounding Beijing. Seeing that the situation was hopeless, Zhang Zuolin decided to retreat to his power base in the northeast, hoping to preserve his core territory. Unfortunately, on his way back to Shenyang, he was killed in a bombing orchestrated by the Japanese Guangdong Army. Taking advantage of the situation, the NRA entered Beijing and completed its military objective of the northern expedition. Half a year later, Zhang Zuolin's son, Zhang Xueliang, announced the Northeast flag replacement, pledging allegiance to the nationalist government in Nanjing, marking the final success of the northern expedition. At this point, Chiang Kai-shek and the National Revolutionary Army had basically achieved their goal of unifying China. At least in name, most parts of China were now under the administration of the nationalist government. So, why was the NRA able to achieve such a remarkable victory? In addition to the internal strife among the warlords and the support Chiang received from his allies, there was another crucial factor: the combat strength of the NRA was outstanding at the time. The core units of the NRA, especially the First Army, were primarily composed of graduates from the Whampoa Military Academy. These young officers had received systematic military training, understood modern tactics and command strategies, and exhibited high levels of discipline and morale. The Whampoa Military Academy was the most advanced military education institution in China at the time, cultivating a large number of educated and idealistic officers. They not only knew how to command in battle but could also inspire their soldiers, creating strong cohesion within the army. In contrast, the warlord armies in the north mostly consisted of soldiers who had enlisted for survival, led by officers with relatively low levels of education and limited tactical capabilities. Their troops lacked strong beliefs and motivation. On the battlefield, the NRA's organization and discipline far surpassed that of their opponents, often allowing them to win battles despite being outnumbered, showcasing remarkable combat effectiveness. In addition, the Northern Expedition Army, NRA, had another major advantage: widespread support from the people. Their slogan was, "Down with the warlords, unify China," a goal that was highly inspiring at the time. During that era, the Chinese people had suffered greatly from the chaos of warlord conflicts. Heavy local taxation and frequent warfare made life extremely difficult. The arrival of the NRA gave many people hope for national unification, and filled them with expectations for a better future. By contrast, the northern warlord armies not only lacked public support, but even the morale within their own ranks was unstable. Many soldiers had joined merely to survive, and lacked motivation in battle, often fleeing or switching sides when facing a strong enemy. This stark contrast in both civilian and military morale played a decisive role in the war. The third point is the NRA's logistical support and organizational capability, which also played a vital role in the conflict. During the Northern Expedition, the National Revolutionary Army gradually established a relatively complete logistics system to ensure the supply and equipment of its troops. In comparison, the Northern Warlord armies suffered from chaotic logistics management, with soldiers frequently lacking even basic supplies, which directly affected their combat effectiveness. Fourth, the NRA also made significant efforts in propaganda, using newspapers, leaflets, and other methods to promote their ideals to the public and gain more support. This modern approach to warfare gave the NRA an advantage both on and off the battlefield. According to relevant historians, the Northern Expedition was a major turning point in modern Chinese history. It gave the people hope for national unity. The victory of the Northern Expedition proved an important truth: as long as there is a clear goal, united strength, and firm belief, it is possible to create miracles, even in the face of powerful enemies. This is the History and Culture channel. Liking and subscribing are the greatest help and support to us. Thank you everyone, and see you in the next time.